I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Your family had your ex-husband killed to try to help you, didn't they?
No, that's completely untrue.
Next item on my list here.
Who had the boys for Halloween of 2012?
That was definitely a contentious day. So I believe I was supposed to have them. I think he was leaving the next day for Canada, I think.
In fact, y'all had agreed to meet so that he could see the kids on Halloween.
I think we had initially talked about that, but then some other things came up that day that made it impossible to meet.
So something physically arose that made it so you couldn't actually get over there or something?
No, I mean, there wasn't an obstruction in the road. I found out some really unpleasant information and found it impossible to spend time with him at all that evening.
Did you offer him the children?
No, they were mine that night.
What information did you find out?
I just found out the rumors that he had been spreading about me to my friends and colleagues.
What rumors and from whom?
Well, at that moment, I had a conversation with my friend's husband, and he told me that I should really keep a lookout because they didn't consider themselves to be friends of Danny. And he had shared some pretty unpleasant information about me to them.
What information is that?
They told me that Danny had shared with them that he thought I was mentally ill and that I'd stolen a lot of money from him.
Anything else?
That's all I remember.
Did you hear from anybody else?
I heard that same story from many people.
Who else?
Mutual friends who told me that she ran into him at Publix.
Anybody else?
You want the names of everyone?
Yeah.
So, Jay's husband, and then do you want friends outside of Tallahassee or just...
So, anybody else?
Oh, you want everyone?
Yeah.
It's a long list. Okay, so Jay's husband, and then do you want friends outside of Tallahassee or just...
No, that's fine. With regards to Halloween, you all had worked out a parenting schedule prior to that, is that right?
I mean, at some point, things were contested and difficult. So, I mean, yeah, we were working with some sort of always influx parenting plan.
And as part of those negotiations, is that an accurate schedule?
I think we were. Yeah, we were trying to do that.
See the boys that night?
If we were going to the same party, I agreed that he could see the boys, but I decided not to go to the party.
Do you think that's the right thing to do?
To go to a different party?
To not let the boys see their father on Halloween if y'all had previously agreed to it?
I think that the situation that came up that I didn't expect to happen, and I think the right thing to do for the boys is to not have them experience tension between their parents. Receiving all this information about all the rumors that he had spread about me that day was very distressing, and they saw their father that day at school for several hours, so it wasn't a question of me not letting them see their father on Halloween.
You RSVP'd that you were going to go to the Feist party on Halloween.
I actually RSVP'd to Maggie that I was not going to come to her party, but she didn't get my RSVP in time. But I'm sure there's a record of it.
Is there anything that would have stopped you from dropping the kids off at the party so you personally didn't have to see Mr. Markel, but he could have spent time with his children?
Mr. Markel spent time with the children all day at the boys' school, and so that evening I was with the boys.
Is there anything that would have stopped you from dropping the children off at the Feist party?
Yes, my desire to be with my children.
Did Mr. Markel ever ask you to attend a counseling session after the petition for dissolution of marriage was filed?
He did.
Did you ever attend?
No, I didn't.
Why?
Because any conversation I had with Danny, whether via email or on the phone, should have been a pleading afterwards, and so I didn't feel like it would be a safe space to have the kids of the productive conversation with him while litigation was pending.
When did you remove the passports from the home?
When I moved out of the house, the passports came with me as well.
They just got up and walked.
Yes.
You took them, correct?
Yes.
Why did you take them?
Because I took all the important documents that I needed for the kids to be with me. I was in charge of the kids at the time.
That you heard from a multitude of people had stolen money?
I didn't hear from all of them on Halloween.
Okay.
I talked to one of the people on Halloween.
And who was that one person?
I talked to John Jefferson on Halloween.
Gotcha.
It was actually while I was pulling in to go to spend some time with the boys on Halloween at their school.
Well, did you, maybe you can do it here. Did you apologize to Mr. Markel about the Halloween incident?
I did.
And what did you apologize for?
I think our miscommunication, I think it was because he was so upset.
So, was this photo taken before or after the murder?
Before.
Who came up with the idea to kill Dan Markel?
Charlie?
So, Sigfredo Garcia didn't come up with the idea?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Luis Rivera didn't come up with the idea?
No, ma'am, he did not.
When did the defendant first bring this idea up to you?
My first recollection was around Halloween of 2013.
Around Halloween or on the actual?
On Halloween, yes, ma'am.
All right. What's your recollection of how that came up?
We were at a Halloween party in Lincoln Road, and right before we were about to go, he got in the car with me and he asked me a question.
What was the question?
Do you know anybody that can harm someone? He asked me a question.
What was the question?
Do you know anybody that can harm someone?
What we're looking for. Okay. We will ask the questions to clarify things. You tell us what you remember that led up to this situation.
Okay. So basically, like what led up to the situation, when I was talking to Chris, I was like, just like things that are popping up as it went. And a particular day that I was thinking about was Halloween in Lincoln Road, when he did mention, but I don't want to quote anything and I don't want to say anything wrong, like I said, and I just remember it, like, that's the thing, it's like as he's saying things, and like y'all know that Charlie talks a lot, so he's saying things and it's just we're going in circles. I'm not like invested into the conversation like how he's thinking of the conversation. I'm just like, like going basically with the flow. So I remember him that he did mention something about, I don't know if his sister was going through it or his sister was having a hard time with somebody. He never mentioned Dan Markel, didn't tell me any names or anything, but that was like particular day, I guess, that I thought back, and I didn't even really think about it until like when all of it was like over. And I was like, Chris, I don't know why it's like coming to me now. Like I've said, like I blocked off a lot of things. I don't remember things. Like you can see in my second trial, I was foggy with everything. Like,
And those are obstacles we'll all overcome.
Okay.
We got to overcome them just like you do. I understand you testified and you said things, and we'll deal with it.
okay, the hard part, because that's the part that I've never spoken of. And from what I just remember, I don't know the specific day, but I do know that Charlie had given a paper in an envelope, but he stuck it inside, like, I had like a diaper bag that I used to use for Kaylee, but I kind of used that as like a weekender bag, and he put it in there. Now, he's probably been talking about like, oh, you know, like I need somebody to, you know, get beat up or whatever. That's why I'm saying, like, from him, something happening to her husband to like obviously murder, that's like two different extremes. And
So you're saying leading up to him putting that in the diaper bag, he was talking about wanting to find somebody to beat him up? And stuff?
like he's, you know, little by little, I think he was feeding stuff in my head that he needed this to be done. But me nonchalantly, like I was like, okay, you know, like I know in hindsight I should have, like I said, that's why I beat myself up a lot, because, you know, like I'm like, you know, I was stupid. Like I wasn't, but that's not what my mind frame was at that time. So it was kind of hard for me, and that's what kind of like I'm kind of scared of, because it's like, are they gonna understand this? Because what I was going through a lot, like mentally with Sigfredo too, was, you know, a lot of like fighting, and then so it's like I found comfort in Charlie, because obviously he was the good time and he was the one, you know, that it's like when I'm with him, it wasn't stressful. But it led to my whole life being turned upside down.
Well, let's talk about this real quick. I know you took the stand, like we talked about a while ago, and you got on the stand and you said you didn't remember things.
Yeah.
That's in the past.
Yeah.
We're not worried about what you said on the stand. We're starting clean here. This is a new, clean break. Okay?
I'm sorry.
I know, you're fine. You're fine. It's okay. It's okay. Just relax. Yeah, just listen to me. You're already where you are.
Yeah.
Okay? Whatever you tell us now, if you lied about something, if you weren't truthful about something, it doesn't matter at this point. You're not going to get in more trouble for it. Okay?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now's the time to be totally truthful with us. It's just that, you know, to come totally clean, tell the whole truth all the way through from the beginning. Because Charlie didn't just slip a letter in without you talking about Sigfredo and getting to that point. That's what we're talking about. Tell us how you got to that point. I understand you're not going to remember time frames and things like that, and Charlie may have done this and done that and kind of led you to that, but how did that happen? You know, what kind of conversation did you have about Sigfredo with him? And how did it lead up to that?
But the whole time, it's like I felt as if Charlie kept planting this seed in my head. Obviously, now I don't know if like he knew of Sigfredo, like he probably knew of Sigfredo from what, you know, like me venting and saying like, you know, like he's giving me a hard time, like in that point. But far from like what, like I mean, like I know that he's probably know that he's gotten in trouble like in the past. But Sigfredo's like since that we've been together, like we, you know, like I try to keep him on the narrow and stay away from trouble, and you know, like with like family life. Right. So that's what like this is through time that he's probably just been saying things, and I'm just like agreeing with it. Like again, I beat myself up for it because it's like I wasn't paying attention to like things, like I was being nonchalant about it, you know, and just being like, oh, okay, and then like, you know, kind of just then when I'm with Sigfredo, I'm like relaying stuff to him, but them really not knowing, you know, like obviously even with conversations, it's like I never said like, oh, I'm talking to Tuto, or like with him, he doesn't want to hear that I'm talking with Charlie.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like they both know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
Or they know.
So what kind of stuff were you relaying?
Right.
Through each other?
Yeah.
That's where it gets a little blurry, because that's through time that we're just
right. You don't
talking.
have to say specifics. Just give us a roundabout summary of what the conversations were about. Because I understand you're not going to remember exactly what you said or exactly what they said, but you know the context of the conversation that you had.
That led up to this.
Everything that led up
Well,
to
like maybe give me an example. So he stuck this envelope
Yeah.
in your bag.
Mhm.
How did you know?
I
what
mean,
to
like
do
it
with that?
had information
But
about,
how did you know what to do with it?
because he's been like kind of mentioning, you know, like, oh, I need this, I need somebody to take care of this, and you know, I know like obviously I'm going to Sigfredo about it, but then as I'm relating it to Sigfredo, I'm not saying, like I don't really know specifics. That's why.
So what are you relaying to Sigfredo?
Yeah.
You just said, I need someone to take care of this. I know it's hard to talk about, but we know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and we need you to talk about it. It's going to be, I know it's hard to say, what is he saying this is? I need somebody to take care of this. What is this?
Oh, the problem with Wendy's, I mean, like that's, I don't think he ever mentioned about her husband or whatever, but just somebody that's been, like,
I'm fine with you here. You're fine with that. That you didn't know that Dan Markel was Wendy's husband.
yes.
Fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
What did he tell you? What did he say?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, move on. We're good with that. Yes, that is totally. I understand that they didn't have the same last name. Most husband and wife, you would think.
So what was he telling you exactly?
That he needed somebody to go up to. Like that's what I'm saying. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
We can understand if you're summarizing.
Right.
You're summarizing. We don't expect you to remember exact conversations, but you know the context, which is
Right.
the actual meat of what the conversation was about. That's what we need from you.
Okay.
Like the actual
What did
topic.
he mean? What did he say to you, basically? Just in general.
That he needed somebody to get hurt, but like not to get to that point. From my understanding, was not to get killed, but to maybe like I don't know if like rough up or beat up or whatever.
Okay.
At that point.
Okay.
So I like that's what I'm saying. Like I just little by little, maybe he's like feeding things in my head, but I can't remember those specifics. And
Okay, so then you're relaying now to Sigfredo. So what are you relaying to Sigfredo? And I know you're not saying Charlie wants me. You're just talking to Sigfredo about a friend that has this problem. What's the problem you're telling Sigfredo?
just that.
What
That it's
exactly?
like somebody like I'm sorry. Like I just like
I know-
that's
I
what
understand what you're
I'm
trying to say.
like not.
Right, and we know what you're trying to say, but we need you to say it. We can't say it for you.
Here's where I think you are. It's hard for you to say.
Right.
It's more hard for you to say than less of you don't know what to say. I think this is where this agreement that's signed into, this is where you have to clear your conscience. This is where you just say what you're trying to say. Get it out. We can talk about it. We're going to talk to Chris about this. Obviously, there's a lot of conversations to be had after this meeting that we're having
A lot
today.
of conversation.
Not with you.
Not with you.
Not with you. No.
Between the prosecutors.
No, between us, and there's just a lot that has to go on after this. So just say it. Just come out with what you're talking. So Charlie's giving you something, and you're giving Garcia something. What is it?
What's the agreement? What was Charlie going to
Something,
do?
yeah, like something needed to be taken care of for him.
And
for
what was
for Dan Markel.
Okay. And what was Charlie getting in return? Was he doing anything in return? What was he willing to do? If
Well, yeah, like he would have. Like the money wise, obviously, like you know, like they would be like Charlie's like, oh, they're gonna be taken care of. That they're gonna be taken care of.
Did he ever give you a number?
what's the number?
No, he didn't give me the number. He didn't give me a specific number for it.
He just said, "Go do this, and I'll take care of you." He didn't say how much or anything.
No, not to me. Like that's what I'm saying. It's like now, like you know how you guys were talking about like the $100,000 or whatever. Like he never said that amount to me. Like I just know that they're gonna be taken care of. Like he was assuring me that they're gonna be taken care of. Obviously, that's nothing to do. You know, like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't have those facts
Okay.
for.
How did he know who was going to take care of it or who he needed to take care of?
I mean, I figured he knew that I was like gonna go to somebody that I trusted and relay that to Sigfredo.
Okay. So he knew
I just
Sigfredo.
don't. That's what I don't know that if he knew Sigfredo like that.
Did you tell him it was Sigfredo though?
No, I
So
never
you
mentioned that
never-
it was.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
But you told him you would have it taken care of. You just didn't tell him I did.
yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, we're jumping around a lot.
I know, and
So
Well, the problem is
I just don't want to go the roundabout and roundabout, like, you know.
we're trying to
like I
get
said.
directly to it, and that's what and you can help us with that as well. Just say it. Sometimes just let it go. You know, the envelope that was in the bag. What was it?
I never looked at it. He told me, do not touch it, do not open it. That he had, he would, as time went, like, you know, I think back about the things that he's saying, and then he's like, oh, like, I never keep money in my house. Like, why is he telling me that? Like, now in my head, I'm like, okay, is he telling me that so that he won't get robbed? Like, he won't turn around and he would, well, yeah, hindsight, like I'm saying, like, I figured this out later on. You know, he did have that safe in his house, but he'd always be like, oh, I don't keep money in that, or I never saw him, you know, like he's opened it before, but I've never like looked inside and see anything inside. When he on that paper, which I felt like that had all the information, and obviously I had given that to Sigfredo, but when I gave it to Sigfredo, like I never, like it was in my bag, and then I had told Sigfredo like, oh, like the paper's there, like, and he never showed it to me. He took it and then he left. Like,
And this would have been prior to the trip they made up in June.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if he had given me that paper.
Did he? And that's fine.
Yeah.
Did Sigfredo ever tell you what was written on it?
No.
Okay.
And that's like the information that I wish I had, because that's why I was
That's
so
fine. Don't make it
hesitant
up.
to even.
Don't make it up. Don't fill in a gap that you don't know the answer to.
Okay.
I just want to confirm one thing on this. So you told Charlie you would have it taken care of. So Charlie didn't know you were going to Sigfredo, but he probably assumed, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, but you didn't tell Sigfredo it's from Charlie, and you didn't tell Charlie you're going to Sigfredo. You just told him that you would have it taken care of.
Yes. Yeah.
So you understood what you were saying.
Yes.
So obviously you told him that you had somebody that could do this, or he wouldn't just give it to you and say, hey, just, how did
Well,
that
yeah,
progress?
like, that's what I'm saying. Like, through time, you know, he keeps telling me there's something needed to get taken care of. Obviously, he's never said, like, oh, that somebody needed to get killed or anything. He never said that.
Okay.
But it's like, okay, through time, he's like feeding to me, oh, this needs to be taken care of, this needs to be taken care of. And then one night that I had slept over there, he had put that in my purse. He's like, do not open it, Katie, like, do not touch it. Even when I put it inside in the envelope, like he's telling me things that he did, and you know, like I used gloves, I didn't print it in my computer. Like he's telling me, he's like forewarning me, like don't even think. Like I guess he didn't think that, you know, like he didn't want me to like obviously blackmail him or something maybe after, or.
At what point did you tell him you had somebody that can take care of this? If he's feeding you this information for him to print this out and take this step, at some point you had to tell him you had someone to take care of it.
What did you tell him to?
That was like going back again that day that he had asked me in Halloween in the parking lot. I was like, oh, okay. You know, obviously the first thing in my head was like, oh, if somebody need to get beat up, whatever, like Sigfredo's, you know, like that's money for him.
So
So what did
Halloween
you
is
tell
when you told him.
The one that
How
did I tell?
How did you tell him that you had somebody? When you said Halloween, is that when you told him that you had somebody that could do it, or?
To Charlie, yes. Yeah, I probably suggested, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I know somebody.
Okay, so you're saying that was at the Halloween thing.
Yes.
Okay, so that's all the way back in October.
It stuck out to
Okay,
me.
that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get a clarification on.
So you told him you had somebody, you just didn't tell him who,
Yes,
and you just left it at that.
yes.
And you didn't ask him how much he could pay, how he could take care of, any of that.
He just he's always told me is like, oh, they'll be taken care of. Didn't give me an amount, didn't tell me.
So what did you tell Sigfredo to get him to do it?
Like I said, I don't know how I told Sigfredo. I probably told him like, hey, like, you know, you can make some type of money if you take care of this for somebody else. He's like, okay.
But you didn't tell him how much?
No, I didn't know.
Or never gave you an amount or anything?
No, he
You
just
trusted
always
he would
said,
pay you.
yeah, I guess, stupidly, yeah. I figured
And Sigfredo
they
trusted
can
you
like,
enough.
yeah, like it's, like I said, like you got, like you know, I'm the middle person, obviously I see everything now, like, yeah, like it was going through me, but I know. I know.
And it's fine.
You look back now and when you feel
I'm like,
used.
that's what I told Tara. I was like, listen, like, I was manipulated, I was used, I was, you know, and it's like, and I feel stupid because it's like, you guys are even like, I know, like, even through trial, like, you guys are, it's like, yeah, and I'm being truthful and that, like, when I see everything, it's like, of course, everybody's just looking at me like I'm a part of this whole thing. And it's hard for me to, like, it took time, like, you guys didn't know what I was going through in jail. You didn't know, even with family-wise, you know, you met my brother, like, it's, how do you just go about it? Like, okay, I had this whole part in this whole situation, like, even conversations with, like, that's why I was upset too with the Dolce Vita, because it's, once you see it in a different way, you're just, and then you sit back and you're like, I don't remember, like, a lot of the things, my brain has literally, and I wish, like, I wish you guys could just put something in my head and just extract all this information, but I can't time frame, which I know you guys can guide me with, but it's like, don't know what was said, I don't know how it went about, I just know, like, what, you know, certain things, and then from there, like, I'll probably get back in the dorm, and then, I mean, like, when I was in county, and I'll be like, oh my God, like, this happened, or this happened, and then after that, it's like I push it away, I've suppressed so much of, like, the whole situation, and I don't want to waste anybody's time. I know we've gotten to this point.
You're not wasting our time at all.
I want an end to this already, like.
So was this photo taken before or after the murder?
Before.
Who came up with the idea to kill Dan Markel?
Charlie.
So Sigfredo Garcia didn't come up with the idea?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Luis Rivera didn't come up with the idea?
No, ma'am, he did not.
When did the defendant first bring this idea up to you?
My first recollection was around Halloween of 2013.
Around Halloween or on the actual?
On Halloween, yes, ma'am.
All right. What's your recollection of how that came up?
We were at a Halloween party in Lincoln Road, and right before we were about to go, he got in the car with me and he asked me a question.
What was the question?
Do you know anybody that can harm someone?
And did you know anybody that could harm someone?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Who was that?
Sigfredo.
And at the time, what was your relationship with Sigfredo?
It wasn't the best.
But he was the father of your children, right?
Yes, ma'am. He is.
So were you dating both men at this time, or were you only dating Charlie?
No, I was only dating Charlie.
Okay. And so he meaning the defendant, initially said, do you know anyone that could harm someone? Was he aware of your connection to Sigfredo Garcia when he made that statement?
Not that I know of. No, ma'am.
Did you suggest Sigfredo Garcia at that time to the defendant?
No, ma'am.
What did you say?
I just said yes and kind of left it alone.
All right. Did it go any further than that at that time?
Not that night.
Right. Did you know who he wanted harmed? At that time?
No, ma'am.
All right. Had you become aware during the course of your relationship with him that he had some kind of issue going on with his sister's ex-husband?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What did you learn about that?
He was just stating that his mom and dad was stressed, and that his sister was having problems with her husband and custody of her 2 children.
And when did you learn that the person that the defendant wanted harmed was this ex-husband of the sister?
I believe later on.
All right. And when did you learn the name Dan Markel?
It wasn't until, I don't know if it was on my trial or when Sigfredo got arrested.
Okay, so even when he was killed, you didn't know the name of the person that was being killed?
Yes, I never knew his name.
How did the defendant refer to this person, if not by the name Dan or Danny Markel?
Wendy's husband.
Okay. So you knew that the person that was going to be initially harmed was Wendy's husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you knew that there were issues, or what did you know about the beef with him?
He was just, he painted this picture that this was a terrible man and making his family go through a lot custody-wise with his sister.
Right, and when he would say these things to you, is it in the context of his mom specifically or his family in general?
I believe it was more towards his mom.
Meaning what?
That his mom hasn't been sleeping, his mom is not eating. I know his dad wasn't the best health either, but he would refer to his mom a lot.
All right. And the reason she wasn't sleeping or eating, did that have to do with this ex-husband of Wendi?
Yes.
It was actually while I was pulling in to go to spend some time with the boys on Halloween at their school.
Has Mr. Markel come by your office at the law school?
Yes,
And in what manner?
he's walked there.
To see you specifically?
If he's come to my office, I assume he's there to see me. I mean, we work at the same place, so...
Has it been a hostile work environment since mid-October?
I mean, yeah, I would say having my colleagues come to me and tell me that, that Danny had talked to them about our divorce and that could I please try to work out with him, like minutes before I was beginning my interview for my new job position. That's a hostile work environment. And that was going on in October, November, December.
Well, did Danny want this divorce?
No.
Has Danny always expressed a desire to work through this in an amicable way?
With his words, yes. Well, start over. That's him.
Thinking about just in terms of who he spent a lot of time with.
Did you ever hear him talk about firearms or owning a gun or anything like that?
No. We didn't really talk about that. I certainly don't remember him talking about that. But I don't know if that's just because he didn't or because it didn't ever come up.
Right.
I mean, it's not something I generally talk about. I don't know anymore or anything like that, so. Yeah. I mean, I know. Yeah, trust me, I wish I knew more. We had started to become close. Wendi and I have recently talked more often. My husband and I had separated for several months. And so her and I had started talking during that time. I reached out to her to try and get details on, their kids seemed pretty adjusted for having gone through that. So I reached out to her to try and get tips on how they handled that to make sure that, the kids were okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we decided that Charlie would move back in to deal with some financial stuff, and so she said I could start coming over and staying at the house when she's out of town and things like that. So I mean, there's been more conversation recently with us, but we haven't seen each other one-on-one. She came to my house yesterday to drop off some clothes that the boys had outgrown for my son. She came to my house yesterday to drop off some clothes that the boys had outgrown for my son. My house yesterday to drop off some clothes that the boys had outgrown for my son. And brought me some soup because I had a bladder procedure yesterday, but that's the first time I've seen her since the party, and the party was the first time I had seen her since.
And the party back in May.
Yeah, in May, and that was the first time I'd seen her in.
So it's been not to sound callous, but it's been more by the conversation, been more about your situation than what's really going on with her.
Yeah.
in casual conversations, I don't know whether to call him my ex-late spouse or my late ex-spouse, except that late ex-spouse sounds like latex spouse.
Well, Jessica, again, I'm really, really excited that you're going to be doing this project with us, that you're going to be playing Wendi Adelson. I think you're going to be doing a terrific job. I thank you so much for accepting this project. And I'm looking forward for you to move into Atlanta, setting up your new studio.
Yes.
And then we're going to get to work. This is going to be interesting because it's going to be just one shoot.
I know.
It's like a one and a half hour
thing.
movie.
It's almost like a play in a sense.
Exactly. It's almost like a theater play. So it's going to be a really tough, probably the toughest acting job she ever had.
Yeah.
And we're going to see what you got. So thanks so much for having the courage to do it.
Absolutely.
Not a lot of people have this courage, but you do. So thank you so much for doing that. And I look forward to doing it with you. And I hope it's going to turn out great.
And thank you so much for asking me. Seriously.
Of course. So thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. Until next time, Mentor Lawyer, you can say your goodbyes.
And I'm Jessica Megan Rivera, and I can't wait to see you guys again.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.
Till next time.